Hey there, how you doing? This is Chris. I'm going to do a quick look at Onspot Social. We're going to call this an examination. It's not really a review because for me to do a review, I'd have to dig into the software. I'd have to actually download it, play with it, and all that good stuff. And I have a client in California that's interested in this particular piece of software, and she just wants my opinion on what I think of it. And as opposed to, going the full Monty and pulling that out, I think I can give her the answers she's looking for and hopefully help you out as well by simply taking a look at what I can see from their marketing. So we're going to start there. So before I vent my spleen as to what I think, let's see what they say about themselves. Let's take a look at this video right quick.
Can your brand benefit from growing your email marketing list or capturing new leads? Are you looking for innovative ways to engage your customers? Onspot Social is an experiential marketing platform that allows your business to digitally engage customers while collecting contact information and critical data. Use it anywhere, in a store, at events, or in the field. With an easy-to-use interface, collecting information from your customers is faster than ever. The Onspot platform consists of 3 core components: an iPad app, which is the customer interface, a powerful administrative dashboard for building and managing campaigns across one or many iPads, and a secure database housing all customer data for reporting and on-demand data transfer. With Onspot Social, you can collect data, survey responses, and reviews from your customers. No more paper forms and manual data entry. You can also engage customers with professional videos and interactive games. Convert customers into social followers. Obtain digital signatures on waiver forms. And send coupons or marketing materials in a text message or email instantly to a customer's phone. Now, monitor your results from the Onspot Social reporting dashboard. Download your data to Excel or automatically send it to your email marketing and CRM systems. Ready to try Onspot Social for your business? Begin your free trial today.
All right, cool video. Okay, so where are we going to start with this conversation? Well, let's start with the use cases. Where it's used. What they basically say is that this can be used in store, at events, and in the field. And I can see where that would make sense. If you are a service area professional, and that means that you go out to your customer, like you're a fence contractor, a plumber, or something like that, then in the field might make some sense for you because that's kind of where you would use it. If you happen to go to trade shows, then you would use at events and all that. But for this conversation, we're going to go look at it through the lens of a salon owner. There's other in-store applications, but we're going to stick with that one. And everything that we talk about here, when I say we, I mean me, is going to be looking at it from that perspective. Okay, so that being the case, the conversation really needs to start at pricing. And the reason it needs to start at pricing is because you need to ask yourself how many devices are you going to have in play at one time. So let's go with the full Monty. Let's say if you really want to go for it, regardless of which particular plan, standard, plus, or premium you go with, you could have, let's say you have one that's in display mode, which we'll talk about in a moment, that's sitting at check-in, check-out. Then you might have one sitting over at the waiting area. And then you could have one per salon. And if we're doing a 4-chair kind of scenario, that's 6. So you have 6 running at any one time. That way, every stylist can collect email addresses and do whatever they want to do with this particular system. So now that's, my imagination, but that's the kind of calculus that drives the first part of this conversation. How many of these things do you need? Because until you know how many of these you need, you really don't know which one of these numbers makes sense for you. And since we're to the numbers part, let's talk about that. Okay, so this, as any service software as a service company does, they have 2 different models. You can either pay annually or you can pay monthly. And if you take a look at the difference in the pricing, you can see which one they want you to lean towards. They want you on the annual plan, and I can't blame them. That's a lot of commitment, and they put a lot into putting this piece of software together. So needless to say, they want folks that are around for the long haul. And if you are using this for a year, chances are you'll learn how to make it work, and that habit will get itself ingrained. However, if you're doing the monthly, the thing to think about, I think, is does this number does this number make sense for how you're using it, the benefits that you're getting from it? Okay, so before I get lost into the sauce on this one, let's basically look at what you get. Okay. If you're going with the standard plan, essentially what you have is three things that matter, really. You have the digital signage, which is basically what it's going to look like when it's running. And we'll get into that in a second because they have a whole page for that. Then there's the email and lead collection. Now, that's my baby right there. I like email and lead collection because if you're going to be reaching out to people, if you're going to go with what we call life cycle marketing, you want to have email addresses. You want to have a way of reaching out to people after they're no longer in your establishment. So email is the way to go. Email, SMS / text message marketing, whichever phrase you want to use. But you've got to use it. So having a really cool way to collect that information is not going to do you a whole lot of good if you're not actually using that information. Okay, so and then of course the third part that it has is the social media follows. So if you're going to be active on social media to develop your market, your audience that way, if you're going to be using email marketing to reach out and maintain contact, then there's value there. If you're not, then the question is, does this make sense? Because where the value in this comes from, if you are going to do email marketing, is that it makes it very easy for you to collect that email address. It's kind of seamless. We do screens now. That's not a new thing. It used to be a new thing when my kids were teenagers. That's a long time ago. So now we do things on screens, and this is built for people who are comfortable with screens. So depending on the decade that your clientele is in, they may or may not get a whole lot of use out of this or may not feel as comfortable. However, what it does, if you remember from the video, it makes it so that when you do go to collect email addresses, you don't have to wonder what someone's chicken scratch handwriting actually means. They type it out, it's the way it's supposed to be. You don't have to wonder whether that's a 0 or an O, or a L or a small L or a large I. You don't have to worry about those things because it's clearly typed out. So there's obviously some benefit there. And the information seamlessly goes into your software. So you don't have to bunch up little pieces of paper that you're like, where did I put that? You don't have to worry about all of those things. So if you're doing email marketing, there's some serious value going on here because this streamlines what is probably the most difficult part of that process, which is getting the information from somebody, getting it in correctly, and seamlessly getting it into your system. Because one of the things, if you remember from the video, it said that this comes with, in addition to, the actual software and all that other good stuff, is you have this other dashboard where all this information is collected. So as opposed to you having to figure that out, it's already done for you. And that makes things much easier. So keep that in mind. All right, so where are we at right now? We've already covered the fact that you really need to think of how you are going to use this. And well, when I say how you're going to use this, I gave you a scenario where you had 6 of those particular devices running at any one time. And of course, it has to be an iPad. So you've got 6 iPads floating around the salon. Well, what if you don't want to use 6? Think about how you would actually use this going one-to-one. Because if someone's filling out their email address, somebody else can't look at it. So if you happen to have it on display, and I guess I keep saying this display thing, this is probably a good time to take a look at that. When you're looking at this site, go over to features and they'll go all the way to the bottom of the page. And you see what says display signage and videos. Click that. And what you'll see is that this is the configuration that I was talking about. So you can imagine, an iPad sitting at your check-in, check-out to greet somebody when they first come in, or sitting there with a slideshow going as they're sitting there looking at the magazines or thinking about whatever. You could put all kinds of things in that slideshow. If there's a particular hairstyle that is suddenly in style or starting to be coming current or whatever the cool phrase is for, people are doing that now, then you could actually have that and different versions of it flashing up to give people ideas. You can do all kinds of things. There's all kinds of cool video marketing that you can do to stick in front of people. Current events in the salon, current events in the community, all kinds of visuals. Again, we're into screens, so that's a good thing. However, just a caveat, if you've got that running at the chair, one-to-one, that's no problem. But if they're sharing, say, one iPad per 2 chairs, if one person picks one up, the other person can't use it, doesn't see it, you kind of lose some functionality there. Showstopper? Probably not, but something to think about as you're deciding how many of these you need to put into play. All right, so one of the other things that's really nice about this is if you're a geek like me, which you're not, then you could simply put up a page on your website, have it displayed, and do the exact same thing. However, it's not going to be able to be adjusted as quickly. You can't move it on the fly. And then, of course, if you're not a geek, you can't contact me to quickly do it. You can do these things from the dashboard that's already included in this software, in this system, which makes that piece really, really easy. You see a picture online that you want to display in your salon. All you have to do is copy the image, throw it up there, boom, there it is. Instant marketing, kind of a cool thing. So that flexibility is a really nice feature of this. And of course, if you look at this image right here, if you want to get people into your social media, you can do that. If you want to have a contest or something, pump the brakes on that one. Got to go back to the features for that one. Depends on which tier you go with. But there is some benefit of sticking things in people's faces and saying, hey, are you interested in this? Okay, so let's see. That's what we're talking about as far as that's concerned. Let's go back over here to pricing. And then I think the last thing that you really need to consider, now that we've talked about how many devices you would have in play, how you would use it, whether your clientele would be comfortable with it, depending on, whether they're millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, or whatever, is which features that you necessarily want. Because one of the things that I can understand why the company did it, but man, it would have been nice. The real functionality at the standard level is really email and lead collection, that digital signage, which is just to facilitate the email and lead collection, and social media. This other stuff, it's nice, but it's not enough to push the dial in one direction or the other. Once you get to plus, then all of a sudden you come down to surveys and reviews. Now that's some goodness. The thing that I'm not happy about the surveys and reviews, unfortunately, is you can't push it out, meaning that how many people do you know are going to sit there and vent their spleen or tell you what they really think about you while they're sitting there? Some people you want to be able to remind later. Now, is that a showstopper? Absolutely not, because you can tie that functionality into the email and lead capture. So you can kind of do that way. But it would have been nice if it was just a feature of this. That'd be kind of cool. It does come with a video player, social billboard, all kinds of cool stuff that kicks in here. But for me, this piece right here is the main feature that you get when you jump from this level to this level. And last but not least, when you jump from this level to this level, the main feature that you get is the auto email and text messages. The text message piece specifically. Auto email, the difference between this and this, if I understand it correctly, email, you'll capture the information. Auto email, they fill it out, and all of a sudden you can have their software without your autoresponder automatically send out certain pre-programmed messages. It's not a full-blown autoresponder as you get with, say, Aweber, Constant Contact, or Send in Blue or something like that, but it does have a functionality to automatically send stuff out. So for instance, coupons or things like that, which I believe if I look here somewhere, it's probably going to say it. Gaming and contest, digital coupons, there it is. So that's the difference. So when you're evaluating this, that's what you have to look at. Of the features that are available, the different jumps at that level, is the review piece enough of a jump for you to go from here to here? Is getting the coupons and the auto email and text message feature enough to get you to jump from here to here? That's what your decision points are. And depending on who you are, the answer is probably going to be yes, depending on what you're doing, depending on how developed your outreach is. You may eventually find yourself, and I don't doubt this, moving from here to here to here. Now, I'm not going to say it's a downside. I always come off with a negative way of saying things. One of the things that would have been nice is the free trial. Now, the free trial gives you the full Monty, gives you full access to all features, which is as it should. The only thing is, it only gives you the use with one device. And the only downside for this, and it's not really a fault of theirs, I wouldn't have done it any differently, but you just need to keep this in mind, is you can't get the full feel of how you would use it if you're going to have more than one device. You can't see where the friction points are of having one device versus having a bunch of devices going. So that's the only thing I would think about. So you're going to have to use your imagination to see how you would actually physically use it in the going through your day, customer to customer, client to client, to get a good idea of how many devices you need to have so that using them doesn't become clumsy, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. All right, so is this good software? Does it have great functionality? I think the answer is yes, but it has to make sense for you, which means you have to understand what you're doing, and you have to really have the intent of doing something with the information it collects. If you don't, then this is just an expense. If you really want to do your outreach, which you should, there's some goodness here. There's a lot of goodness here. Okay. And that's my opinion just based on what I've seen, and brands we work with, that's always cool. But anyway, that's my opinion, and hopefully it helps. If you got any questions or you have any comments, just drop them in the little space below the video, and then we'll go back and forth like that. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.